SC Media and our sponsor, Savient, are proud to present this month's CISO Stories program. This is the show where CISOs share tales from the trenches and unpack leadership lessons learned along the way. Find this month's CISO Stories content at CISOstoriespodcast.com. The Cyber Risk Collaborative is a unique membership community enabling cybersecurity leaders to work together in a trusted environment. To learn more, please visit CISOstoriespodcast.com/CRC. Welcome back for another month's episode of CISO Stories Podcast. You got myself, Jess Hoffman, with you again. This is like 200th episode or something. Having fun with Rakesh Soni. What's up, Soni? How you doing today?
Great. Thanks for having me, Jessica. I'm excited.
Yeah, excited to have you here. We went through really cool information on your background and about authenticating agents. We'll get into that. But before you just sound like a cool dude. Besides having great hair and love
Thank
the
you.
book collection, you are CEO and founder. I love how you said you're engineer, developer. You have mentorship program for startups. You're a technologist, but you said underneath it all you're a developer, right? That's
Yes.
awesome. You're a technologist. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your company.
Yeah. So I'm Rakesh. I'm the founder and CEO of the company. I started it when we were having kind of, as a developer, I was experiencing a lot of challenges around, adding authentication and login system in general. And I realized that it's reinventing the wheel. Everybody's building it again and again. So why don't I build a company around it? And that's how I came up with the idea of LoginRadius, and that's the name. Login inside it represent. We do everything around login, but we kind of specialize primarily in what we call external user identity. So there are internal user identities to an organizations where primarily the employees. So that falls more under workforce IAM. We don't do any of those things. We primarily focus on external user identity, which are the people who are outside your organizations, which are your customers and your partners. So we build a this specialized IAM platform for these external user, and that's what we do, from sign up registrations to login to MFA to backend, user data store, credentials, the privacy management, and so on. All these things are offered through our cloud native platform.
Fantastic. Side question. You started your company in 2023, I think, right? A few years ago.
No, I started the company originally in 2013. So that's when we were offering social login with Facebook, Google, and Twitter. But we
Okay.
pivoted to current platform in 2017. And since then, we have been growing, and we are rated pretty high by Forrester in the marketplace, as well as the Kupinger call within our space.
I asked that question because you said you just focus on the customer, the external, and I was just curious if like that was always your mission, like what you saw, if you saw foreseen in the future, the need for that to be higher. Because I mean, obviously, IAM has changed since 2013 and 2017, right? So I was just curious if maybe you saw the writing on the wall, like we're about to talk about how agents are buying for us or making decisions for us and what that looks like when it comes to authentication.
Yeah, when I started the company, I realized there was no, like, we were some of the early player who were shaping this customer IAM space. It was completely new. There are not many player out there. It's like a very early. Nowadays, it's kind of becoming like a well accepted product category. But those days, it was like nothing. So we kind of saw this is a main problem for developers to rebuild, or I would say reinvent this wheel of login, system, which is not worth it. So we decided to build it as a out of the box solution so developer can quickly hook it up. So that's kind of awareness of where the market heading and the pain point developers are having.
I love that. You're a developer, like you said, at the core. Um, well, let's talk about that. From a developer's perspective, authentication, access, all that. We can from a developer, you might look at it, or people might think it's just about access to the code or access for the application or whatever it is that you're developing. But when we're talking about authentication now, like you said, it's changed. in the world now. We're in the world of AI, right? Everybody has an agent talking to agents, AI talking to AI. So you brought up a really great scenario about, I want my agent to purchase me groceries online every month or once a week or something. Here's my set budget. This is what I like. Go forth and do it. I don't want to, hands off approach there. And then they're delivered to my door, and hey, maybe AI helps me eat too. I don't know. But what does that look like for authentication now? Because that's completely different.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, I mean, most of the audience probably aware, like last 3 years have been crazy how the AI is advancing, from just simple chatbot to multimodal to now agents. And, agents are truly transforming, the life of individual as well as the companies, how the work is getting done. And the market is growing like a crazy. I don't have full stats, but even like some like 65-80% of the organization already have deployed at least one agents internally, as well as the consumers, around 35-40% consumers are very comfortable getting work done through AI agents. So these agents going to be everywhere on the business side as well as the consumer side. Now, the big question for the companies who are providing the services is that these agents are coming to you to get some stuff done. Then how are you going to verify them? How are you going to know who they belong to? How are you going to know what sort of access I should give to these agents? What sort of permissions I should give to the agents? So that's really kind of big, a challenge for organizations to figure that out. And it's kind of very fundamental to any human interaction. Is like somebody knocking your door, the first question you need to ask, like, who's there? Right. So when these agents are knocking the door, or all these organizations to get stuff done, they need to figure out, all these identity related pieces for the agents. And that's where this big kind of challenge and use case and innovation is right now happening within identity space, is agentic identity and access management. Right now, the use case where I kind of see the world is evolving toward. So let's talk about the consumer side first, right? So the consumers, say every consumer going to have a lot of agents working for them, right? So for example, I have an agent on my phone like a Siri, and I'm going to say, Siri, order a Starbucks, for me to pick up in 5 minutes. Now agents need to go to Starbucks, and Starbucks need to authenticate. Starbucks needs to know these agents belong to me. Then agents can access my past, drink history, and then it knows is like morning time, Rakesh drinks this thing, and so on. So all those pieces is going to be a big, coming up on the consumer side. Another could be like a personalized shopping, for example. Could be a travel agents, who's helping you to plan your travel and book the flights and hotels for you. So that's kind of big kind of use case coming up on the consumer side.
Yeah, I needed to do all of that. I mean, I think most people are using ChatGPT at least in that form and creating agents on there too, right? Teams like we can create agents for ourselves now. But that seems a little scary. I think I've heard multiple people say AI talking to AI, so that's what's happening, right? So what vulnerabilities, what risks should CISOs and small, large business, whatever, what risks should we be aware of that, that when we have these agents knocking at our door that we're saying hello, but there's plenty of other risks associated with it. What are you seeing?
Yeah, definitely. Like whenever new technology comes up, there's always bad actors, right? And in security space, we know more than anybody else. So this new technology comes is now the bad actors try to kind of generate these fake agents who will authenticate on my behalf and do a lot of bad things, for example, right? So the biggest question, for the organization is like how we make sure that first of all agents belong to the person, right? Number one. Number two, the agents have a certain level of permissions. Even if it's my agents, I don't want the agents to buy like $100,000 shopping on my behalf, right? So how you set different level of permissions, this is where like a fine grained authorizations, or a role based access, all these attribute based access things start coming in, but for the agents, right? So and then the third thing you need to figure out is like how we figure out an approval process. So let's say I want to I ask my agents to show up something, but then they need to now trigger to the real human is like, hey, do you approve this purchase, for example? Instead of agents doing all the crazy stuff, right? And then finally, you don't want the agents to, handle and access, sensitive information, which could be my PII information, which could be something else. And that's very important because otherwise, these agents might belong to some other companies and they might take some very personal information, some crazy information, and bad actor can exploit from that point of view as well. So they're like bunch of risk factor, and I think the market is still evolving and figuring it out how we're gonna solve all these identity related challenge around AI agents.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people talk about how AI is going to be talking to AI. Like everybody I know says that, from my CISO to people on the streets, right? Like that's just the world we're getting to. And that's what this sounds like as far as the agents knocking on your door of your company or your bank account or whatever the case may be. Um, what are some of the risks, like the security risks that CISOs should be thinking about, or small businesses, anybody really? What risk factors are there? Because there's definitely a lot of them.
Yeah, I mean, we all know that as new technology comes in, bad actors are always going to figure out, how to use the technology to exploit. And this AI agent or agentic AI is no different. So I think the big question for CISO or the organization is that how they're gonna secure users' account, how they're gonna secure users' information, how do you make sure the agents don't go rogue and do some crazy stuff on behalf of the user. So things comes down to having a right kind of identity system that really verifies the right agent that belongs to the user or not. That's the big piece of the problem, right? And the second they need to figure out is that the user is performing only certain level of tasks. So through fine grained authorizations or risk based access control or attribute based access control, the user need to define what sort of access and control I want to give to the agents so they don't do some crazy stuff. And finally, there has to be certain approval process. For example, I have a personalized shopping agents, but I don't want the shopping agents to spend $100,000 on my behalf. So how are you going to trigger that, the approval back to the real human is like, hey, do you approve this purchase, for example? Or do you approve this particular action? Because if any of these pieces are broken, then these bad actors can exploit and do, let's say, $100,000 shopping on my behalf and ship the material to somewhere else, for example. So all sort of crazy scenarios and things could happen. And then it comes down to how you give access to different system. Could be like how you manage the token to certificates to API keys of these agents. All these need to be well protected, well designed, and proper user flow needs to be designed to ensure these agents are really helpful than the harmful.
You just basically talked about having good security practices in general, right? So sticking with the basics, authorization, making sure that there's approval process, the logical behind it, technology behind it. Um, I think it's important to note about the access to the data, because we want to have an agent like for our company approving and paying invoices, for instance. So, it seems like there's always going to be that human factor there. So what do you think would be the best use cases, or what are some use cases that your customers, how are they using or implementing agentic IAM?
Yeah, so we are in the beta phase of our agentic identity and access management platform, going to public launch in end of December, early January. So the primary use case we are seeing is that the customers start bringing our customers users start bringing their own agents. For example, ChatGPT now allow you to shop. So then I want to connect my ChatGPT to the e-commerce platform. So how you give the access, for example, and then let what sort of permissions we want to give to the agents, and providing those scenarios for the users so they can determine what sort of access I want to give to my agent. So these sort of use case start coming up. A lot of another use case in the media side is that people are bringing their agents so that they can read the news and then the agents can summarize this news for me. So instead of I'm going to read all the news, the agents know what kind of news I'm interested in, and then I like say short and summarized news instead of full news, for example. So a lot of these things can be done through agents. So these sort of use cases start building up. I predict 2026 and 2027 are the one where true explosion of agentic AI on the consumer side will be happening. ChatGPT already has, I think, around 800 million monthly active user. And Google, I think, in few weeks, last week or so, announced that they have more than 2 billion users start using their AI mode. So as the adoption of these things start happening, they will start opening the platform, and that's where the explosion will happen. And then all these companies need to figure out how they're gonna serve to the AI agents.
What would you say is like the main difference between identity access management for human versus non-human, non-human being the agents? Like, what's the differences, similarities?
Yeah, the big difference I would say the human is like a real user experience. There's a real screen. There's like people clicking in. The agents are fundamentally a different software system, which is connecting to your software through APIs. It's not real kind of interface. The API is the interface, how they're interacting. And then now there are MCP servers building up, right? So there's servers talking to servers and then agents accessing through those MCP servers. So how you authenticate the server first and then you authenticate and authorize the agents. So it's more like the two system talking behind the scenes. While in the case of human, is there's a real human and there's a very different user experience, I would say.
Do you think that the agentic authentication is going to be different from just like servers talking to servers now, right? We have non-human already. What do you think that there's going to be a huge difference? I know we just talked about like kind of like basics, right? Having procedures in place, guardrails, all that stuff, for from a logical, operational, all that stuff perspective. But
Yeah.
like, do you see difference? Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think fundamentally it's all about OAuth 2.0 flow, right? Machine to machine, access and granting. So the backend logical protocol still kind of falls down to that, except this, MCP start coming in now, which is specifically designed protocol for agents to access and interact with other systems. But otherwise, a lot of our identity protocols and system in place will work, but need to kind of adopt to this agentic AI.
Wow, I hope somebody will spend $100,000 shopping and send it to me. So it is kind of scary. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, from a security perspective, it's not if, it's when. We're all vulnerable here. But for our listeners, and I know your congratulations. January going live with your Agentic IAM solution. But what are some real concerns or challenges that you think the CISO should be made aware of when considering the use of this technology? Or maybe it's already in their environment and they're prepared. How can they best prepare themselves from being breached or that technology being used against them?
So I think the one big area of concern, or I would say less known, is what sort of action the agents, because agents is fundamentally these LLM models and these AI is making a lot of decisions and researching and things like that, right? So it's gonna make mistakes. There's a hallucination still exists. There's mistakes still exist, right? So how you try to define your flow that until a certain level, agents can perform those actions, and after that, we need to bring in the human, which is the user, right? So that's I think the big area because once an agent screw things up, then it's going to be a lot of logistical challenge at your business end to fix that problem. And if you are like say 10 million users, you don't want this whole issue to be exploding where like agents are making so much mistakes that it become pain for your whole support team. So that's a one kind of big area. The second is I think having all these great practices around agents and defining the right access. I think that's I think key thing. And then the how the privacy going to play, that's another big area around GDPR, or in California we have a CCPA, is that the agents does not end up stealing or taking that PII and end up misusing somewhere else. Say agents like Siri using me, I'm using Siri, you are using Siri, and then Siri is fundamentally a single system, and it end up screwing up our information. That's a breach of privacy, for example. So there's a lot of kind of unknowns, and there's definitely a lot of concerns. But I think everybody's working toward figuring it out, and hopefully in 12 or 18 months, this authentication authorization around AI agents will mature enough that it will give more confidence to the users as well as for the businesses to truly start adopting it.
Yeah, you just triggered me when you said privacy. I was like,
Yeah.
because all the laws are different. I mean, that's already as far as compliance, and I know that's not as sexy as, the technical, a lot of the technical cool tools and that we have going on, but we have to live by it, right? And privacy, absolutely. And I mean, we already have that concern with just regular systems that we can have data leakage. And I know we have the OWASP top 10 for LLM. Month I had Sandy Dunn on, who's on that board, and my buddy Rock Lambert. So like that's actually what I was thinking when we were talking earlier. I was like, so where are the publication and the guidelines on IAM related to Agentic? I'm sure they're out there. I mean, how did you even get started on all this? Like when you were building your product?
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, the industry is evolving. All the smart people, expert people are figuring it out, and I think more structured, protocol and processes and best practice will start coming up, I would say, around it. We kind of, because we as a company are very kind of innovation focused, and we kind of clearly see where the market is heading, and we clearly see the customers start requesting some of these capabilities already or start talking about it. So we wanted to make sure that we are, ahead of our customers' needs, and we are doing all the R&D for last almost 12 months to figure out a lot of these pieces. And we feel good that we will be covering with our capabilities like really well for our customers.
So, question two, you've been in this game a while as far as identity access management. So, like, what are like maybe the top two or three areas that you've seen drastically change since you first got into this in the 2013?
Oh, I think a lot has changed. The one big area I felt like which is constantly changing is that how we used to authenticate, which is simple username password. Then we came to social media login. Then we had a phone-based OTP, email-based OTP. Then we got into this password-less authentication, passkey. So different kind of method of authentications are evolving very fast around the human side. And the second is the privacy has evolved so much, versus say 2013 versus now, where government through GDPR and CCPA and every states and government building their privacy regulations, they're requiring data residency, so the data of their citizen to be stored within the country, for example. And the cybersecurity has also evolved quite a bit in that period. So I have seen, I would say, a lot of kind of evolution, and it's keep moving fast. And these agents and the non-human identity is the next big frontier coming in. And that makes this whole thing very complex. And that's where when I started this company, I kind of knew that I, as a developer, cannot be, say, a security expert. I, as a developer, cannot be a privacy expert. I, as a developer, cannot be expert of all these pieces. So I need a solution around it so that I can hook it up instead of building everything from ground up and taking maybe 2 years and still half baked.
I love that. I think we should do more of that. Like, I'm not a developer. I don't know anything about developing. I trust that you'll do it, right? That you'll do it well. And you would trust me from a security perspective to do your audits or show you where your weaknesses are. That being said, I'm sure you have some security folks on your team. So you're baking that into your solution. And, well, one last question on that note too. So we've talked about what you've seen, how far we've come in the evolution, which great synopsis right there, by the way. Um, so where do you think we're going? I know AI agents, agentic, I am right here now. Is there anything that you're seeing down the pike that's like going to be mind blowing, maybe from quantum? I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, that is very different topic, quantum. I don't know. But I think the agentic AI is the big one next, I would say 3 to 5 years for sure. And then with the AI, I'm also kind of seeing that the bad actors start using generative AI to create like a fake face, fake video, fake voice. So a lot of these biometric related authentication systems, they're trying to upgrade it, and bad actor, and this AI advancement. So it's kind of tussle going on. And the question is how we gonna kind of, because in security we don't want even like a 0.1% chance, you know what I mean? It has to be 100%. So I think that's another big area where Gen AI is making it harder. I mean, making a lot of good things, but at the same time making it bad things as well, right? Especially it can generate so much fake stuff. So the identity verification, I feel like gonna be a big area. How you verify before you give the access is kind of big area, I feel. And then these will merge together as identity verification and identity management come together, because they are fundamentally both are required in the user flow.
That's really, I never really thought about that, but it makes perfect sense about the biometrics. Like, as far as even multi-factor, something you know, something you have, something you are, right? If we have these deep fakes and for video and voice, like that's throwing the MFA out the window, or that the version that we're used to, I guess. That's a great point. Wow. I guess that's your next service you'll provide from your company.
Maybe.
Um, well, Sony, we're coming to the end of our time. This has been awesome. Definitely, I've learned a lot from our conversation and gotten really intrigued. I'm just curious. I like to ask all my guests this. You see, you're very accomplished. I didn't mention you're also an angel investor, so you are out there literally changing lives, changing our tech stack, changing our tech solutions. Supporting the next gen. I love that so much. Thank you for doing that.
Thank
And
you.
also your mentorship with the startups. So you seem like a really awesome person. And just curious, in all your splendor, what would you tell 18-year-old Suni? What advice would you give him?
Oh, I'm big into books, so I recommend young people to read as many high quality books as you can, because that really opens up your perspective to so many things, and you can learn so many, perspective and ideas, and it really kind of reduces the number of mistakes you make in your life. So my advice, like, I read at least 25 to 30 books every year now. So if you can read at least 6 to 12 books every year as a 18-year-old, I think that would be amazing for long run. It's a long-term investment, but it's going to be amazing.
I love it. I see all your books back there. I think I see a Gandhi book on the right, on your right or so.
Yeah, I
I
have a
love
bunch of
it.
them.
What's your favorite book?
Ooh, favorite book. Other than my own book I written.
Good answer. Other than that, yes. What's your favorite? What
uh,
comes to
the, the,
mind?
yeah, there's a book, Thinking Fast and Slow. I really love that book. Animal Farm from George Orwell is amazing book. Um, Outlive, the Art of, I think, Longevity. That's amazing book. There's a mental model book. I forgot the author's name. It's a three-part book. It's an amazing book. I mean, there's so many of great books.
I just wrote them all down. Mental
Yeah.
model, thinking fast and slow, Animal Farm. It was the art of loyalty or no longevity.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
part of Outlive. Outlive, the part of Art of Longevity. I think Science and Art of Longevity. That's the name, I think.
awesome. Thank you.
Is it-
I love to read too. You can't see, I have books. I have books everywhere. I just love books. So thank you for that because I feel that might be lost, come to be lost art, because people are just moving so fast and we have AI to read it to us or we have AI to tell us the summary. We don't
Yeah,
even need to read anymore.
absolutely, absolutely.
Well, thank you so, so much for your time. This is awesome. Good luck. Congratulations on your next venture with your company. Look forward to following you and seeing you continue on. So thank you so
Thank you so
much.
much for having me, Jessica. Really enjoyed the conversation. Thanks so much.
Good. Thank you. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll catch you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in for this month's episode of the CISO Stories podcast. We want to say a special thank you to this month's sponsor, Savient. Get a free identity security demo at cissostoriespodcast.com/Savient. Please subscribe to the CISO Stories podcast and you will receive a new episode on the second Monday of each month.